This is a Scholarships 101 presentation presented by Suzanne Tyson, President of Student Awards, Inc. And if you are a student, this is great advice for you on applying for scholarships in Canada. And if you're an educator, this is a presentation that you can present at your parent nights or give to students to review. So to begin any conversation about the cost of education, everybody needs to be sitting down because the average undergraduate student in Canada is going to have about $24,000 worth of debt. And with unemployment rates in the high teens, it is very important for students to understand the cost of 4 years of education at university or 2 to 3 years at a college. And the number one reason students will discontinue their studies is consistently because they run out of money. So this presentation will help you prepare in advance for the expenses you're going to see at university. Every year, Student Awards conducts a survey called Who's the Poorest of Them All? And the intention is to find out which students in which discipline have the highest debt load and the highest tuition, et cetera. And what we've found 4 years in a row is that all students are poor. There actually isn't a lot of distinction between the different faculties when you come right down to it. And our Student Awards members, we have 500,000 registered members across the country, for 4 years have told us that it's going to cost them between $10,000 and $20,000 a year for their higher education. And every year we're surprised to find that most of the students, 3/4 of the students surveyed, have less than $5,000 when they go into first year on campus. That means that they're going to have to fund the gap between the $10,000 and $20,000 with other sources of revenue, including working and loans and OSAP or whatever your provincial financial assistance program is. So they have to borrow money from their parents, and staggeringly, every single time we do research with our students, over 50% of them are reporting that they have to work just to make ends meet. It's not for money for clothing, it's actually to put food on the table every month. So there are lots of alternatives out there to getting into big debt. You can find scholarships at studentawards.com, and we'll tell you a bit more about the site and how to use the site in a couple of minutes. If you're looking for financial planning tools, we highly recommend that you go to fundyourfuture.ca and also visit canlearn.ca, where you can get great financial planning tools. And each province has their own section at canlearn.ca where you can find out about provincial financial aid that is available. The other place that you should go if you're planning to take a tour of any college or university campus is make a visit to the University Financial Aid or College Financial Aid office. If you can't get there in person, their websites are very well organized and they have lists of scholarships and awards that you can find. And the one thing that students will forget is once they get to campus, they can go back and return to the office and find out if there are new awards that have been added or scholarships that haven't yet been applied for that they could potentially apply for, even if they don't fit the criteria exactly of the award. So get to know your financial aid office administrator, become their friend, and you'll find all sorts of sources of money. So if we go to this slide, this is an example of a screenshot of the studentawards.com website. And a presentation I made to a high school one time, a parent came up to me afterward and said, oh, I understand now the concept of student awards. You're like eHarmony. You're like a dating service between students and money. And that's exactly what we do. So you come in, and the number one recommendation we would make is to take your time, have a student take their time filling out their profile. The more data that you put in and the more information that you check off as you're going through the process that is appropriate for your profile, the better your scholarship matches at the end of that registration process will be. So every single student, when they come in, will go through the registration and we'll ask you things like what grade are you in, or what year of study are you in, what do you want to study when you're at school, and what do you want to do with your career when you get out. And every data point is then mapped to an opportunity, a scholarship, an award that's appropriate for your profile. The other thing that you need to do is come back on a monthly basis. We'll send you an email with a newsletter once a month, and you should schedule at least an hour a month to review your personalized mailbox and see what new awards and opportunities have been posted in your mailbox, because there really is no scholarship season. New awards come up all the time. The third thing we'd recommend you do is to come in whenever anything changes. If you've completed a new activity, or you've done some volunteer work that wouldn't have been reflected the first time you registered, or you've moved from grade 11 to 12, or you've gone into first or second year college, university, come in, update your profile, because the awards that you're matched with will change as your profile changes. So student awards, the benefits of joining student awards include, being matched up with free sources of money for school. There are actually 10,000 awards that are posted in our database that are worth over $70 million every year. Now, not everybody's going to be matched or eligible for each of these awards, but what you'll find at the site is stuff that you won't find at the university or college financial aid offices. We actually, if you say you want to go to UBC or U of T, there'll be a link in your personalized mailbox that will take you to their financial aid websites. So we don't list all of those scholarships. These are the ones that are hard to find, that would be difficult for the average person searching for appropriate awards to find. The other thing that the Student Awards does is we'll go out and we'll find companies that are looking to communicate with or engage with students or recruit them, and we'll ask them and help them create ways to put more money into the hands of students. So that's why there's constantly new stuff coming up at the homepage, in your mailboxes, in emails that we might send out to you if you do decide to receive communications from us. And then Student Awards itself, we actually have given away close to $1 million of prizing since 1998, and you'll see all sorts of fun contests like the one that you saw on the first slide with the Great Canadian Scholarship Contest. So the myths about scholarships include students and parents and educators often thinking that they're just for the brainiacs, they're for the students with the 90% average. And sure, there's lots of awards out there for people that are high achievers academically, and the students that walk on water, the ones that have volunteered since the time they were 5 years old. But there are lots of awards out there for other characteristics, and you have to fill out that profile and do a bit of searching, but you can find awards at studentawards.com and other places for being creative. I'll show you an example of an award that was given to someone who was very creative. There's a tall person's award. If you're a female and you're 5'10", and if you're a male and you're 6'1", there's actually a tall person scholarship. There's a June Colwood Harmony Award that is given to people that have done things that demonstrate creating harmony and acceptance in high schools. Lots of awards out there for volunteering. And sports, if you've played hockey or ringette or soccer or tennis, there are scholarships out there being offered for people who've participated at the local level, the regional, national level, etc. There's a Mississauga Achievement Award, and there are lots of other awards based on where people live. Lots of awards for heritage background. There are Aboriginal scholarships. There are scholarships for French-speaking people from Europe, etc., as well as other languages. There are lots of French awards out there as well. And you can win money at the site by entering contests and responding to surveys as well. But the number one advice is you can't win if you don't apply. So take some time and do apply. So the number one thing that we'll hear, especially in grade 12, is that students don't have time to apply for scholarships. But here are some compelling reasons why you should apply. First of all, the money that you'll get from a scholarship is free. You don't have to pay it back at all. So that's the number one benefit. And something as small as $500 can pay for your rent for a month. It can pay for groceries for a couple of months or for your books for a semester. And if you do win one, you can put it on your application either when you're trying to get into a program or when you're trying to find a job. It really does look great on that resume. It helps you stand out from the crowd. The other thing, when you're applying for other scholarships, if you've listed that you've won an award already, it will stand out and it can create a stepping stone to winning other awards. Also, if you've worked hard or you've done something special in the community, it's really nice to get some recognition for that as well. So at Student Awards, we've been doing this for about 14 years, and we don't administer all of the scholarships in the database, but we do have a number of scholarships we administer, and we go out and speak with scholarship providers all the time. And here are some of the common things that they tell us they're looking for when they're reviewing applications. So number one, originality is always really important. If there's an award that's got 100 or more applicants and somebody has to review a whole bunch of applications, if someone submits something that's original and you can tell the person has a real passion for the subject, that will stand out for sure. Volunteering and community service, there is a standard in Ontario of 40 hours mandatory to graduate from high school, but you should go above and beyond that or show how the volunteering you've done is different than just meeting the minimum requirement to graduate. Leadership and initiative is very important, and in fact I was reading an article recently about the schools at UBC having a common application that also involves a personal statement. So it's very important to express leadership and to start working on those things as early as you can. And they're looking for that in scholarships as well. If you have a special talent, if you're an artist, or if you've created your own movie or whatever, talk about that, and if you can, show an example of it as well. And special targeted areas, if you've got specific heritage, if you speak multiple languages, or you come from a multicultural background, that's something as well that scholarship providers are looking to award. So now we'll get into the 8 key tips for submitting a great scholarship application, and these are pretty common. But number 1, when you come to the Student Awards, your personalized mailbox within the Student Awards environment, prioritize the awards that you'll find, because the average 18-year-old student will have between 30 and 50 different opportunities in their mailbox. So prioritize awards in the order of date, but also in the order of your personal interest. The passion will come across if you're writing about a subject that you're very interested in. And if you have time, apply for other ones, because once you've created that essay, you can reuse that essay and re-edit it for appropriate circumstances. But once you've applied for one, it's going to be a lot easier to apply for the next ones. And this picture on the right-hand side is of 2 women from Leamington who made those dresses out of duct tape. And the award that they were applying for was called Stuck at the Prom contest. And every year, the duct tape brand company gives out $5,000, $2,000, I believe, and $1,000 awards for people that make their prom outfits out of duct tape. And if you visit Stuck at the Prom, you'll see the amazing creations. So it's not all about the marks. And these 2 women, not only did they win $1,000 each in their high school in Leamington, won $1,000, but they got on to Canada AM twice and were able to use this win in their applications to university and colleges. Doing the research on a specific scholarship is really important. Every single scholarship will have terms and conditions or rules and regulations, and if you click through to those rules and regulations, you can create a checklist of things that you'll need to apply, but you'll also get insights into what the committee is looking to reward. So it's great to give you an edge in your application if you know that leadership is the most important criteria they're looking to reward. Being very clear in the answers you're providing and concise is important. So imagine someone having to read through 20 different essays. Even if they're only 250 words, after a while, you'll want someone to get to the point really quickly in what they're writing. And answer the question that they're asking you, and be as honest and forthcoming as you can with your answer. So if the question is asking you about any special circumstances you've had to overcome in your personal life, tell them some of the specifics and the details. Your information is to be held in confidence, hopefully as part of the application, and they're really looking to find people that can answer the question they're asking. Don't go over the word limit count. If it's a 250-word limit and it doesn't cut you off, make sure that you do a check on the number of words, because if they do have to read a bunch of applications, they will cut it off at the limit for sure. And then make sure that somebody proofreads your application before you submit it. Don't repurpose your resume. Make sure that you start from scratch, or that you take something that's relatively close to what they're asking for and edit it for the specific scholarship. Don't put a list of things that you've done. Actually explain why they're significant and explain the broader implications of the work and the volunteering that you've done. And also tell them how it fits into your future plans. So if you've studied a foreign language all of high school because you want to go and study in a foreign country, explain that you've done that work and how a scholarship would help you pay for tuition overseas, for example. Also, scholarship providers really want to give money to students that they think are goal-oriented, and the money is going to help them achieve those goals. So tell them how the money of the scholarship is going to help you get where you need to go. Can't emphasize this enough, but make sure that your essay is properly structured. If it's a Canadian application, it's always best to use Canadian spelling. And again, double check your spelling and grammar. And the proofreading your work is obvious to have somebody read it, but make sure that what you're trying to express on paper is actually coming through in the application. So have someone read it without giving them information up front, and then ask them at the end, did this specific point I was trying to make come across? And if it does, great. If not, go back and do an edit. References are a very, very important part. If you get to the final round of a scholarship, you can assume, or you should know, that scholarship providers or the administrators are going to check up on the references. So if the award is for volunteerism, they will call the companies or the organizations you've done your volunteering with, and if they can't verify what you've said in your application, then you may be out of the running for it as well. Number one thing you can do is provide the most up-to-date phone number or email address for the reference and give the referee, your reference, a heads up that they're going to be called, and tell them what the award is for so that they're well prepared when the time comes and they can give you a glowing reference. If the information can't be verified, you might actually lose also the chance to use the reference again in the future. So don't embellish your application, because if they find out that you've overestimated the time that you spent, you might actually not be able to use that reference in the future. And then the number one thing I'm sure a lot of educators and teachers and parents are constantly saying is watch out what you're posting at Facebook or any other social media, because you will be Googled by a scholarship administrator, and if the award is large, they want to make sure that if you're a winner and you're posted up on their company poster or website, that if someone looks you up, they're not going to find something that isn't a good representation of the company. Second last point, follow the instructions, make a checklist of everything that's, that you need, and give yourself lots of time to collect every different element. The number one thing that will happen is that if a scholarship requires original transcripts, people are sending in photocopied versions, and they will be eliminated. Last thing, if you put the deadline a week before the actual deadline in your calendar, you have a better chance of getting all of the different elements pulled together. If you require teachers or educators to write reference letters for you, give them lots of time and give them a helping hand. Maybe draft some of the key points about what you'd like them to include in the letter. And if this is a highly competitive scholarship and there are other people in your school or people that are going to be asking for reference letters, get to the front of the line, get to them the earliest to get your reference done and in. And we cannot ever extend a deadline in a scholarship, because it's not fair to people that have submitted their applications on time, and it's actually in some cases opens up the provider to legal issues if they reopen the scholarship application. So chances are if you miss the deadline, even if you've got everything ready, you're not going to be accepted. So other resources that you should go and take a look at studentawards.com is our discussion forum. We've got thousands and thousands of students in there every month answering questions, asking questions, finding information about higher education. So if you want to get into law school or a business program, there are students in there who are currently in those programs who are more than happy to help you with any questions you might have. There's also a new section at the discussion forum that talks about careers and career paths, and that one will be populated with lots of information in the coming months. As well, we've got great content within the Stacks section of Student Awards at the home page. Go into the Stacks, you can find videos. There's Nick Bontis, who's a professor at McMaster University, and he's talking about getting into business and what students may struggle with and the jobs that you might have at the end of that. There's also information on music and computer science, psychology, et cetera, from these professors. But there are lots of articles as well about getting into med school that are written by experts in the field. So every year we do ask students who are in higher education what their advice for students would be if they were still in high school. And so here are the key points that they bring up. Time management comes up a lot. Getting involved on campus is very important. Your success rate is higher if you actually, even if you're living at home and commuting into campus, if you can get involved in one or two social activities or sports teams or clubs, your chances of success and enjoyment go up a lot. Keep up with your reading, study hard, and the number one thing that professors will say and educators, go and ask for help as soon as you start finding that you're having difficulty, whether it's academic or social or financial. There are lots of resources for you on every campus to help you out. Also, don't pinpoint an exact career choice at this point, or expect that if you go into a program and you're really not enjoying it, that you have to stay in that program. Try and choose something that you're going to be successful at, and that generally means something that you enjoy studying and doing. And then when you're there are always lots of options to switch in and out of programs and add minors and other types of electives that you might enjoy. Do what you want, not what's expected of you. This is something that when I present to parents, they're not very happy about hearing, but it's true. If you do what makes you happy, you can hopefully spend the rest of your life doing what makes you happy. So the last piece of advice is forget everything that you think you know about higher education, college, university, and just open yourself up to the whole experience. It's going to be a fun ride, and it's a very exciting time. So try not to have preconceived notions about it, and let it unfold as it is supposed to for you. Best of luck to everybody, and feel free to contact us at studentawards.com. You can send an email in through info@studentawards.com, and you can find all of our contact information at the website. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.